top of me, you know, and being that I'm so much taller than him, in order to prevent it from happening, I just stood straight up and didn't allow him to do anything, you know, and I kind of kept pushing him away and keep him there and tell him, no, I want to talk to you, I want to be with you, and I love you. He would say, you don't love me, you don't love me, and I would say, no, I love you, but I just don't want to have sexual relations with you.
Drengen og hans familie blev overøst med smykker og ure. Familien har ønsket at være anonym, fordi de frygter reaktionen fra Sai Babas tilhængere. De bor i dag i Midtvesten. Faren var en af lederne af den amerikanske Sai Baba-bevægelse, men brød med organisationen, da han opdagede misbruget. Det er første gang, de fortæller deres historie på tv.
We were shocked when we heard it, and both of us just embraced our son at that time, and we said, that's it. It's over. It's finished. And the thing that was most impactful there was that when we said to him, why didn't you tell us? And he said, the greatest fear that I had was that my family would choose Sai Baba and I would lose my family. And that he had lived with that fear. And he said, and that I would be responsible for possibly bringing down an organization as big as this.
The first time I had a personal experience with Sai Baba was when I was 16 years old. I went to India alone with some friends in a USA group. I think I was the only person in that group that he gave a personal interview to. I went in there and he's motioned for me to lower my pants, and I did. I was very nervous at the time, yeah. And he waved his hand and turned it over and showed me some oil, and he started to rub it on my testicles and started kissing me. And as he was kissing me, he started kissing me deeply, you know, and I started tensing up and, you know, not understanding what was happening. But it seemed to me as if Sai Baba was trying to make my penis erect. He had told me not to tell anybody about what he had done, that people wouldn't understand it.
Misbruget fortsatte gennem flere år.
The second time that I went to see Sai Baba was in 1997. I went with my whole family and a group of people. I believe we had about 10 people in our group. I don't remember exactly what happened that first day, but I know that there was physical contact in the personal interview room. Ended up getting about 20 to 21 personal interviews within a month and a half. Then he, at one time, gave me a watch, and I wore it for about a week. And after about the first week of wearing it, the gold started to fade off of the inside and around the sides, and I felt it to be kind of strange because I felt it was like a token of love or a spiritual gift or some sort of something special, and it was just it was really cheap. I could tell the second hand was sometimes moving in different directions, and the gold left. And so I asked him in an interview, you know, why it was changing colors, and he almost got upset with me for asking a question like that, you know. And he told me, then I'm going to give you a solid gold watch. And so he made another watch for me. It was solid gold. At the time, it looked very gold on the front and the back. And about a week later, it was all faded off. It didn't work very well for very long. But every time we would go back into the personal room, his wants and got to be very intimate. And he was constantly having me remove my penis, and he would hold it, sometimes put it in his mouth and look at me, and then ask me to do the same thing, or push my head down and lift his robe up. And I was gagging and almost about to vomit. And, you know, that was probably the most mentally breakdown type of thing I've ever done in my life, because if I didn't feel like at that time like my life or my family's happiness or was depending on it, I wouldn't have done it. But my mentality at that time, I felt like it was a life or almost death situation. You know, this was God in human form, but that was my mental program. This is God in human form. How could I deny him, you know, what he's trying to make me do? There must be some deeper reason or deeper meaning than what I see.
Sai Baba truede med, at drengens familie ikke ville få flere interviews, hvis han røbede noget for sine forældre.
But there were several occasions that really made it snap in my mind that it was no longer even possibly a spiritual experience. I was constantly feeling the pressures of the thousands and thousands of people outside the room that all wanted to be in the same position that I was in, and who every day almost treated me with anger or resent, you know, because I got so much attention from Sai Baba. My feeling, however, was if you guys only knew what was actually going on back there, you wouldn't even want to be in my shoes, because it's not very fun.
Familien er langt fra den eneste, som kan berette om sexmisbrug. Politiet i både USA, Tyskland og Frankrig har fået anmeldelser fra tidligere disciple. Flere end 20 af anmeldelserne blev i marts indgivet til de indiske myndigheder. Domstolene i Indien har endnu ikke afgjort, hvordan de vil behandle anmeldelserne. En af anmelderne bor i Boston. Hans mor er glødende tilhænger af Sai Baba, og gennem 6 år var han det også.
In 1989, when I was 15 years old, I went to India for 3 weeks, and on that trip I had 4 interviews. And in the 3rd interview, he actually asked me to untie my pants, and he forcefully pulled my pants down, and with his bare hand grabbed my groin and rubbed some oil on the side of my scrotum. And I went again the following year, and on that trip, when I was 16 years old, Sai Baba called me again for a private interview. At that point, I was even actually more uncomfortable because it seemed like this had already taken place and there was no reason why it needed to take place again. But he asked me to take my pants down. I did, and he went ahead and produced a oily substance and rubbed it on the side of my scrotum.
Ifølge Jet Geierhan var han langt fra den eneste.
I've talked with students of Sai Baba's school and that have had sexual relationships with Sai Baba, and it's really common knowledge that several students stay with Sai Baba all night on an ongoing basis. And of course nobody talks about what takes place with these students with Sai Baba, but from the students I've talked to, clear that there are sexual relationships taking place. And in fact, one student I talked to directly was a person that was staying with Sai Baba, and from the conversation it was clear that it was very difficult for him to come forward with this information because he'd be rejected by his family and by his culture and by his people, unlike American students who have the support of their culture and society and family to come forward and talk about the fact that they've been mistreated by Sai Baba.
What really helped me was when I had some conversations with some other people who had the similar experiences, because I felt that if they had experiences as intense or close to as intense as mine, I could talk to them about it more openly than I could talk to with my dad. So we had talked about it, and all of the people that I had talked about it were equally confused as I was, however also equally brainwashed and allowing it to continue to take place.